How's it going, Sneeples? We are officially in the spoiler season. It is heavy and strong. Today has been the day of light spoilers. So we got a ton, and I do mean a ton, to go over. So we're going to get as much as possible, as quick as possible, while giving a little bit of tidbits here and there as well. But this is your video to see all the spoilers all at once, right here in one video. So let's begin. Thursday night, at least for most of the United States, Thursday night has the first spoilers, and they were some big ones. So we're going to go over those real quick. There's only 3. The first one's given to us by Dozer, or David Andrews, and that is Empyrean Rapture. This card is a legendary chest for a light illusionist, which is taking the place of Vestige of Soul or even PHEANO's Spring Tunic. And it is huge because this card is what makes Prism busted. And I do mean actually busted. So let's go over it real quick here. If a card with Herald in its name has been put into your hero's soul during your turn, the first hero ability you activate costs 2 less. Which means is that when you put a card into your hero's soul from your Herald attack. All Heralds, when they attack, when they hit, they go into the hero's soul. You can use Prism's ability for free with this armor to go and search for a Figment to put out and turn over. It also has a once per turn instant of paying 1 to give it ward until the end of turn. That seems kind of like a last ditch effort, but that also works with the way that the rest of the deck works with all these ward mechanics. So it fits in very well there, but it fits it extremely well with its ability. You'll have to excuse like the nail polish. That's for our spoiler video, but even though we're talking about light, there'll be a little bit of black. This is just so big. This is what's really, going to help Prism be busted and why she's starting out at 32 health. But we are going to get to that here in a little bit, so let's move on. Our next one is from DAYLON Mac, giving us Figment of Triumph. We're going to see a lot of Figments here on this video. This is a legendary, like all the other Figments, meaning you can only have one. It costs 4, and it pitches for yellow. Doesn't attack, doesn't block. That's how the Figments go. They all cost 4, they all pitch for yellows, and they all are legendary, and they don't attack nor block. This one says when it enters the arena, attack actions your opponents control get -1, and then flips into Victoria, Archangel of Triumph, which pays 2 to attack. That's pretty standard on the Angels. And when she attacks, you may banish a card from your hero's soul. If you do, attack action cards your opponent's control get -1 until the start of your turn. So kind of like a Parable of Humility effect going on with this one. Definitely, like the Herald of Triumph effect as well. Definitely making it harder to pop your Heralds to pop Phantasm, basically. And like all the other Angels, it has Ward 4. It comes in for 4 attack and has 4 life. That is what we're going to see with most of the Angels. So we're just going to say all that now, so that when we talk about these other Angels, you'll know 4 attack, 4 health, Ward 4. Okay. Moving on, the last one that we had on Thursday is a Bolton card. That's V for Valor. This is a rare, so you could expect to see this in red, blue, and yellow. The red is a Light Warrior action aura that has an attack reaction to pay 1, destroy it, charge your hero's soul. So pay 1 to charge your hero's soul, and then target attack gets +3. So it's an aura that kind of sits around, stays around for when you want to get over damage and use it as an attack reaction. And it charges soul as well, so it can be very big in that opportunity. So that is our first Bolton spoiler. That is all the spoilers from Thursday. Now let's get into Friday, which is a ton. So let's move on to it. The next one is, I don't know if I mentioned where that one came from. That came from the M&R podcast. That was from Roger Boudy. The famously Bolton lover. So next one is from Tales of Alex, and that is Beaming Blade. So Beaming Blade is a light warrior weapon. It's a sword that is two-handed. It comes in for 0 on its own, and it pays 2 to attack. However, just like with Raiden, if you charge, there's a little bit of a bump. However, with this one, it has to be a yellow card. So if a yellow card has been put into your hero's soul this turn, it gets +5. So that doesn't actually mean you have to charge, just some way you put a card in your soul. And +5 is a 2 for 5, is probably still not Raiden, honestly, but it's interesting and maybe could be used in commoner, as in this is your rare weapon for Bolton, or could just be something that has an alternative. I don't know if we're going to see this in play, like the 2 for 5 versus a 0 for 3 seems a little hard, but if you need a bigger sword, this might be it. Okay. Next up is Figment of Ravages. This is an Asian name, so I don't know which one this is, but we were given Figment of Ravages. Sorry. This Figment says, when this enters the arena, deal 1 arcane damage to any target, and then the Figment turns into the Angel of Sekim, Archangel of Ravages, which is beautiful. Out of all the Archangels, I think this is my favorite art. And it has, when Sekim attacks, you may banish a card from your soul. If you do, deal 2 damage to any target. So you can target other angels, dragons, any other allies, but as well as, obviously targeting your opponent or even yourself. Who knows? But yeah, very cool. This is, reminiscence of the Herald of Ravages. All these angels follows the heralds, and this one is the arcane dealing one. So very cool to see that. Next up, we have Sunflower Samurai with Light the Way. So a Bolton card. Now this is I think this is our first common that we're getting here. So this is probably in red, yellow, and blue. And the red's a 0, cost, 3 attack, 3 block, light warrior action that says, that's an attack, that says, at additional cost to play this, you may charge your hero's soul, okay? And when this hits, if a yellow card was charged this way, this gets go again. So it could be a 0 for 3 that you charge to get go again. What we're seeing is a lot of yellow cards being needed, particularly with the Bolton side. And it seems like that was the theme when the original Monarch came out, but it was more for Prism than it was for Bolton. It seems like it's shifting more for Bolton than it is for Prism. So excited to see what that entails. This kind of suggests that Library of Solana might be coming back in a big way, but for the other hero, for Bolton instead. But Light the Way is a common that uses that. I don't know if this will see too much play. Alright, next up from Baz the Bard, we have Resounding Courage. This is another common, another Bolton common. It costs 1 and is a light warrior attack reaction. It does block for 3. And it says target light warrior attack gets +3. If you charge this turn, create a courage token, and that is the red. So the blue and yellow would probably get +1, +2. So this is interesting in that it's an attack reaction, but it's an attack reaction that doesn't require you to charge. So on its own, it's a 1 for 3. But if you do charge, then you create a courage token, and that's whether you hit or not. So that's actually really cool, and I actually really like that this does something without you having to charge. Because Bolton's reactions before needed you to charge in order to do something. Yes, they were free, but at least with this one, you get a for sure courage token as well as getting the +3 for sure as well. So I like that a lot. It's a common, and I think it's a very good common. All right, next up from Dice Commando, we have Bastion of Unity, which I think this is one that kind of surprised all of us. I don't think anyone I've seen was suggesting warriors would get a shield, but here it is. The warrior equipment offhand, it blocks for 1, and it has Unity. When this defends together with a card from hand, it gets +1 defense until the end of turn, and then it has Temper. which means that in the beginning, the first time you block it will block for 2 and it will not be destroyed at the end. And the second time it will block for 1 and it will be destroyed at the end. Pretty cool. I really like the Bastion of Unity. I love the art on it. I looked at previous cards that worked with like removing -1 counters, but those are all Guardian cards and they say Guardian shields. So even if a PvE format came out where you could, possibly work with your opponent, you won't be able to take the -1 counters off, unfortunately. So this is just strictly for Warriors, and I'm curious to see what this entails. Right now, it's a one-handed offhand, so you'd have to have a one-handed weapon to work with it, which we haven't seen yet. We haven't seen a very good one yet, I should say. Next up is GG Doa, and they come out with a weapon. It is not one-handed, but it is a two-handed axe called Decimator Great Axe. Has the same background as Jubil, it appears, which is interesting. So that's 2 warrior weapons with the same background, and in that background, it has a very Kasai-like feel to it. So let's read into this. So once per turn action, pay 3 to attack, and it attacks for 4. So that's kind of on rate for a weapon. The first time this is defended by a non-equipment card each turn, half the base defense of target defending card rounded up. So the first time it is defended by a non-equipment card. So that means, if they choose to have no other cards defending it and they play a defense reaction on it, like a sink below to block for 4, that sink below will block it for 2. You will still get damage over. If they decided to come in with like a 2-3 blocks, or a 3 block and a 2 block, you can make the 3 block turn into a 2 block. However you want to, make it work, that is your choice with this card. This card allows you as the attacker to decide which card gets the half of the defense value. Very interesting. I actually don't mind this axe. Unlike the sword that we saw before, I actually think there might be some play on this. I do kind of like it as of now over the Merciless Battle Axe, but we'll kind of see what happens. It is interesting that it says the first time, almost suggesting like maybe you can attack twice, but that might just be from defense to defense reaction. Moving on. From Unofficial Winds of Mysteria, we have Lay to Rest. Now this is a light action. This is a rare. Oh, by the way, that axe was a rare and that shield was a legendary. I should mention that. Or no, that shield was majestic. The Lay to Rest is a rare. It is light action. It is an attack action, that is. It comes in for 4, blocks for 3, and the yellow is 1 cost, and it says when this attacks a shadow hero, it gets +1. When this hits a hero, you may turn a card in their banished zone face down. So, interesting. This card might only be in yellow because I don't actually know what you would give it for blue, unless it comes in for less. Probably comes in for less. Probably comes in for 3 of blue, 5 for red, but holds the same ability. And the ability is actually really good, and it makes sense that it's a light card because it's really against shadow cards. Because when you put a card face down in their banished zone, that eliminates the card. Even though it's still in the banished zone, they will not be able to play the card from it. So you basically are eliminating their banished zone to prevent them from playing these big cards. This is very huge, especially when you look at cards like Eclipse, right? I know that's a chain specialization. There's no signs that we're getting chain, but that would be a very huge card to just say, all right, chain, Ursur's not coming out this match. That's huge. So I really like how this card operates. Of course, it's going to be able to affect other heroes like Vincent and Levia as well. Okay, moving on. Okay, next up from Eric KLUG, we have Figment of War. So another Figment here. And this says when this legendary Figment enters arena, create a Courage token. We do get to know what a Courage token is. We will get to that a little bit here. But this is a light, we know it. It's a Figment. I do like the art style on this. I like, when the game has different art style. And on the opposite side, we actually saw this card before. This is the Bellona Archangel of War card. The card that when it attacks, you can banish a card from your hero soul. If you do, play a +1 counter on each angel you control. So a very cool card to work with here. I think this is going to be one of the first angels you want to have out. And we're going to talk about that here pretty soon. This is when we go over the Prism that we've already seen, but we'll see the old Prism, or not the old Prism, but like the Prism that was spoiled first. We'll see her in her adult version, and she does the same thing. And I imagine this is one of the angels you want to possibly get first, just to pump up your other angels. Okay. From ICV2, we get Figment of Protection. When this legendary figment enters the arena, it creates a Spectral Shield token, so like Herald of Protection. Cool art on this as well. The figments and heralds have amazing art. It is on par for the course when it comes to Prism, and I gotta imagine there's gonna be just an astronomical amount of money for these cards because they are very beautiful. So this one turns into Aegis Archangel of Protection, which has, when it attacks, you may banish a card from your hero soul. If you do, create 2 Spectral Shield tokens, which is like big, like huge, especially when a lot of your cards have ward already. So that is the idea, is to have so much ward stuff so that you can choose which angel dies first. And so when you have Spectral Shields to kind of take some of that damage, that can actually be huge. So very, very good card. Okay, so next up, this is another Asian name. I do not know their name. So again, I am sorry, but they do have a spoiler set, because what we get here is we get the common equipment for this set, and that is Radiant View, Radiant Raiment. Actually, never seen that word before. Radiant Touch and Radiant Flow. And they all have, you may at instant speed banish this and a card from your soul to prevent the next 2 damage that be dealt to you. This is great for Commoner. If you want to be playing some sort of ward mechanic in Commoner, you won't be able to play the new Prism in Commoner because she is a majestic hero, but this is a way to kind of just keep your life high to prevent instant damage and almost doing it for free. So a very cool set of equipment and a very lovely art with it as well. I almost was better to see like the full version of this woman without her being cut up into different cards. So very cool. Next up, we have Cardboard Cast, or Hoodwill, and they get the Charge of the Light Brigade, which is a common. So this is a Light Warrior action common, something that we would expect to see red, yellow, and blue. The red is a 0 for 3, and it says the next attack you charge this turn gets +3 and go again. Therefore, the yellow will be +2, the blue will be +1. It is basically a pump. That's a non-attack action pump. Now, this one does require a charge, so this is very familiar with like Courageous Steel Hands, but this one, unlike Courageous Steel Hand, is non-attack reaction. So it's an interesting card. I don't think it'd get too much play, but who knows? I mean, giving +3 might not be terrible. I don't know. It's not something I'm excited for. Next up, Fabrica gives us this one. This is Break of Dawn. Another great art. This is not a Figment or a Herald, but I like the art on this one a lot. This is a light instant common, so we expect there would be red and blue of this as well. It is a 0. The yellow is a 0 costing, and it says the next time a Shadow Source would deal damage this turn, prevent 3 of that damage. So red might be 4, blue might be 2. Pretty cool. It's just kind of like I don't know, what's like a little bit like an Oasis, more like a brush off really than anything else, but it does have to be from a Shadow Source. So it's very specific to Shadow Heroes. So, you know, take that for what you will. Okay, so next up, this one's going to be good because this one's going to really help bring these figments together and these heralds together, and that's from PHEANO Black himself. We have Prism, Awakener of Soul. We get to see what her adult art looks like, which looks beautiful. Looks like Prism. Looks very fantastic. What we're seeing is the same ability we saw before. Whenever a card with Heraldin's name is put into her soul during an action phase, you may search your deck for a figment, put it into arena, then shuffle. And then this is this is her ability that becomes free if you have the chess piece that we mentioned earlier. And that is banishing card from your soul, awaken target figment you control. So let's go over the turn real quick. You attack with a herald. These heralds are, and especially in red, will come in for 7. If the herald hits, because maybe they can only block for 6, 1 damage hits. The herald hits, it goes into your soul. All right, that activates Prism's ability, as well as activating the new chess piece ability, the Empyrean. I don't remember the chess piece name. We have so many cards. But that activates both those abilities. So the Prism ability has you go and find a figment to put out into the battlefield. And the chess piece ability has it to where Prism's next ability is free. And Prism's next ability is to banish a card from the soul. So it could be that same Herald card that was put in the soul. You can banish it and you can awaken target figment. So that is turning the figment into an angel. That is all in one turn, which is gnarly. So that is why Prism's at 32 health and why she's busted. We also get from PHEANO Black Figment of Erudition, which was her big majestic attack from before, and this turns into Soraya, Archangel of Erudition. So 2 Sorayas, very interesting. When Soraya attacks, you may banish a card from your soul. If you do, draw 2 cards. Obviously, this is so good. This is just amazing. This one's a majestic for sure. I believe they're all majestics. But yeah, it's just way too good of a card to ignore. And honestly, that's probably one of the first ones you want to grab. But it's legendary, so make sure you can keep it around. Okay, moving on. Next one's from Polygon. And they have Celestial Resolve. So this is a common light illusionist instant. And the yellow version costs 0. And it says the target attack action card with Herald in its name gets +4 defense. So it is a way to be able to block a little taller, which can be pretty damn good when going against tall heroes if you're Prism, because you want to try to keep as many of your angels around as possible. And this helps with that, for sure. So Celestial Resolve, I could possibly see this being played. This is just a common. I imagine the blues +3 and the reds +5. So definitely a sideboard card at the very least. The next one is from the Wraith Times. We have Angelic Descent. Angelic Descent's another light illusionist instant. And the yellow costs 0 and says target attack action card with Herald in its name gets Go Again. Your next angel attack this turn gets +2. So blue being +1, red being +3. That's actually really cool. The fact that you can, for free, make your herald has Go Again and then attack with your angel after the fact that gets a bump on the angel is actually pretty good. I actually think we would see this card being in play. Now, this card does not block, so that is its biggest downfall, but it might be what's needed to give Prism Go Again, because that is the one thing she is missing. So this might be a card that's needed for that deck. Moving on, we get Figment of Tenacity from Sloop Dupe. Sloop Dupe gives us this card, which says when this enters the arena, your next attack this turn gets Dominate. And when it turns into Metis, Archangel of Tenacity, and when Menace attacks, you may banish a card from your hero's soul. If you do, your attacks this turn get Dominate. And it does say attacks with finesse. So it's very interesting to see that there might be a multiple attacks type turn from Prism. I could totally see something of that sort. Okay. Moving on, from the professor of Tolarian Community College, we have Prayer of Bellona. This is a majestic light warrior action. It costs 1 and says your next attack action, your next attack this turn gets +2. That means it could affect the sword as well. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's yellow, put it into your hand. Then charge your soul, and then it has go again. So this is a card that could replace itself, could add a free charge, and as a pump. And that is why it is a majestic, and that's why it's so good. And it also blocks for 3 as well. I failed to mention that. It pitches for 2 and blocks for 3. So on point with the yellow mechanics that Bolton seems to be wanting to do, as well as just providing that extra oomph to get him bigger attacks. I like that card, actually. I think that card's going to get played. Next up, from Instant Speed, we have a Lumina Lance. A little bit of the Celestial Cataclysm mixed with Enlightened Strike. So this is another majestic. It is a yellow pitch that costs 0. And it says as an additional cost to play this, banish up to 3 cards from your hero's soul. Choose that many modes. So that means you can banish 1 card and choose 1 mode, 2 cards, 2 mode, 3 cards, 3 modes. And the modes are target light attack gets +2, and that is just attack, so it could be a sword. Target light attack gets when this hits, draw a card. Also, I'm pretty sure angels are light attacks, so that also works. And then target light attacks gets when this hits, it gets go again. Okay, so another way that Prism could get the go again, and another way that Bolton can get going as well with drawing cards or even getting the +2. So a very, very good card for both decks, honestly. Very interested to see how this card plays out, but it's also blocked for 3, so I gotta imagine this is going to be a staple in both light heroes. Okay, next up from Fabulous, we have Blessing of Salvation. Another cool art. I like the art. This is a rare, so we expect to see this in all 3 colors. And in red, we have it costing 1, it defends for 2, and it says it's a light action that says if a card has been put into your hero's soul this turn, you may play this as though it was an instant, gain 3 life. So this is a gain 3 life card that could be played as an instant, if you have put a card to your soul. So whether that's charging or just putting it into your soul from other means, you can gain 3 life instant speed if you pay 1. This is okay. I don't particularly see this as something that is going to really be played too much. So this is just okay. But who knows? We'll find out. Next up is from Josh Lau. And we have 2 cards. One is Iron Song Versus. This is a Warrior Equipment Arms, and this is legendary. This is our second legendary that we have seen. This is an equipment that blocks for 2 with Temper and has once per turn action, pay 1. Your next sword attack this turn gains. When this hits a hero, create a courage token, go again. As in the ability has go again. So, very interesting because right now Warriors have Braves Forge Bracers. So it's interesting to see where this falls and lies. So saw the Josh Lau's video. I'd recommend seeing all the videos of these spoilers, by the way. And he made a very good point that Bolton is definitely wanting to play Iron Song Versus over the Brave Forge Bracers. However, with Dorinthia, it might be a preference choice for that. But very good equipment. So good enough to make you wonder which of those equipments that you actually want to play. Next, he also was able to spoil to us the big unknown, which is Courage Token. Now we know what a Courage Token is, and that is a generic token that's an aura. When you play an attack action card or activate a weapon attack, destroy this, and the attack gets +1. So Courage Tokens are a little bit of a bump for your next attack after you made the Courage Token. So with the Iron Song Versus, you will make the Courage Token after your sword has hit. And if you're playing Dorinthia, there's a good chance you can hit again. And now that sword will get +1. Or if you're playing Bolton, you'll be able to plus your next attack, which is good because that means you can give it go again by using Bolton's ability, banishing a card from Soul. So Courage is a very, very good warrior aura to have. And that's why we're seeing so many warrior cards make these Courage tokens. Next up, from MAXFEROCITY, we have Reality Refractor. And this is the one that scares me as an Oldham player. I know Oldham's no longer here, but I also like Iyslander. And if this card is getting played as a weapon, I am going to have a bad time. So let's get into it. Reality Refractor is an illusionist weapon. That's an orb, two-handed weapon. And it says illusionist auras you control are weapons with 5 base power and once per turn action pay to attack. Now, the biggest difference between this and Luminaris is that Luminaris gives the go again if the yellow card was in pitch. This one does not give your auras go again. But having your auras be a base 5 power attack is pretty gnarly. So that's something that adds like a different element of deck building to Prism. Sure, you can go the new Luminaris and go with the Heralds and the Figments, and that's a pretty good one. But maybe there's a deck out there that looks to do Vestige of Soul and Library of Solana and come out with these Genesis and Arclight Sentinel, and it's all back to being auras because the old Prism could survive with less life. So maybe it's fine to keep doing it now and you have a little bit more cards. Who knows? I just really like that what it does is allow deck building options for Prism. So I think that is one of the coolest things out there. Okay. Next up, we have from TANNON Grace, we have Radiant Force Field. This is another Majestic that's a light instant and it's an aura. So kind of what we were just talking about. It is a yellow pitch that costs 0 and it blocks for 0 and attacks for 0 as it is an aura. If your hero would be dealt damage, banish a card from your hero's soul to prevent 1 of that damage. When there are no cards in your hero's soul, destroy this. So this does read that for every source of damage, you can prevent 1 of it by banishing a card. Rune Chance would be just gnarly if you have no more AB, because for every 1 Rune Chant, 1 card from Soul would come out until there are no heroes, no Soul left, and then this would be destroyed. And very interesting. Again, this works very well with the ward mechanic and just building up such a board state. But this is a little, it kind of reminds me of Rune Chant Barrier, where it's like you kind of would like it, but you kind of could get screwed from it. So, take this with, a grain of salt and maybe be a little careful. Next up, we get from Luminaris, Celestial Reprimand. This is a common, so again, red, yellows, blues. The yellow is a 0 cost light illusionist instant, so therefore it does not attack nor block. And it says target card defending an attack with Herald in its name gets -2 this combat chain. So something similar to a blinding beam, except now it costs 0 without having to target a shadow card. So this card is a way to protect your Heralds, and honestly that's probably the one you want to protect the most anyways. No, this won't protect the Mirage Metamorph, but you're kind of not playing that card anymore anyways, right? It's probably just all the Heralds. So I actually think this card could see some sideboard play for decks that look to pop most Heralds. Okay, moving on, we go to Card Advantage, who has given us Beaming Bravado. This is a rare, and it is a light warrior attack action, so we will expect to see this in all 3 colors. The red is a 0 cost, 3 attack, 3 defense, and as an additional cost to play this, you may charge your hero's soul, so very Bulletin-like. If a yellow card is charged this way, it gets +1, so it could be a 0 for 4 if a yellow card is charged. Not the biggest fan of this card. I'm not even quite too sure why it's rare, to be honest. Bolton already had a 0 for 4 with Express Lightning, so I'm not quite too sure why this one is a rare and that one was a common. I understand this works with the yellow mechanic, but this is a red card. The yellow card would be a 0 for 3. So I don't know. I'm a little confused and I might be missing something here, but I'm just not very big on this card, to be honest. Next up from, I don't know how you speak French, but the Aphidia channel, I have Aphidia channel. Spirit of War. Okay, so this is a Majestic. This is a red striped 0 cost, 3 attack, 3 defense, light warrior attack action card. And as an additional cost to play this, you may charge your hero soul on par. If a yellow card was charged this way, whenever an attack action card hits this combat chain, create a courage token. Now this card I do like, right? This is a 0 for 3 red with a charge effect that seems very, very good. Getting courage tokens for every time an attack hits, that's any attack, as long as it's on the same combat chain, is pretty damn gnarly. Something that I can get behind, and I understand this is red but needs a yellow to be charged. That's fine. I can work with that. I think that this card is worth making that work. So this card I do like. Of course it is a Majestic, so you know, there might be that. Next up from Umotivo. Let's go with that. They give us Searing Ray. Searing Ray is a light action attack. It is a common, so you should expect blue, red, and yellows. And it is on the yellow stripe. It is 1 cost, 3 attack with 2 defense. And it says if you have a yellow card in your pitch zone, it gets +2. So the red might be a 4 attack that gets +2, or it might be a 3 attack that gets +3. We'll have to find out. However, this is very interesting because this is kind of like the old Luminaris. It's a 1 for 5 that blocks for 2. It's okay. It's nothing like to be in awe about, but it's okay. Maybe commoner, honestly. But I don't think we'll see it so much in competitive play with Blitz and Classic Constructed. Alright, next up from Fabled Hunters, we have Figment of Rebirth. Another one of these ceramic looking art style, very flat looking art style. Cool, like I said, to just kind of change things up. When this enters the arena, you may put a yellow action card from your graveyard on top of your deck, just like Herald of Rebirth, and then this turns into, it's so funny how it goes from a very like flat to this like super like CGI almost looking artwork. But Avalon, Archangel Rebirth, when Avalon attacks, you may banish a card from your hero's soul. If you do, put a yellow card from your graveyard on top of your deck. So just a way to kind of keep good cards coming in. Could even be a way to bring back some angels, as all the angels are yellow pitches. So very, very cool. All right, so next up we have from Candice Harris, we have Diadem of Dream State. So another legendary equipment. This is an illusionist equipment that is the headpiece. It says once per turn action, when this or a non-token permanent you control with ward is destroyed, you may pay 1. If you do, create a ponder token, and this has ward 2. So very, very interesting. So making it to where your ward equipment are going to have you the possibility of being able to draw or have a ponder token. You can have multiple ponder tokens at the end. And this can also work for your angels. I believe angels are not the tokens, they are just actual cards. Spectral shields would not work with this, but I believe the angels would, and therefore you would have an opportunity to salvage some resources to get some ponder tokens for everything that is possibly getting destroyed. Very cool, very interesting. I'm very curious to see where this ward deck goes and what it looks like. Very, very curious. All right, next up, we're coming to the home stretch here, guys. Go Again Gaming presents to us Blistering Assault, another common card that's a light action, that's an attack action. The yellow costs 2 to play, attacks for 4, defends for 2, and it says if you have a yellow card in your pitch zone, it gets Go Again. So it seems like these light cards are caring about the yellows in your pitch, where Bolton cares about the yellow in your soul. But so this would be a 2 for 4 Go Again, below par. It is a common. It is even the red would be a 2 for 5 Go Again. That one's not so bad. That's actually kind of okay. But yeah, this one's just not. I'm not feeling it, to be honest. Next up from Bronson, we have Defender of Daybreak. Defender of Daybreak's another common card. This is a light action, attack action once again. The yellow costs 0, attacks for 3, defends for 2, and says when this defends a shadow attack, non-equipment light cards get +1 this combat chain. So it could be a good sideboard card if you're seeing like a go wide shadow hero like chain in Blitz or something of the sort. I could see this possibly working. Otherwise, it's kind of like the red would be a 0 for 4, or the red would give +2 defense. It's probably 0 for 4 though. Red could be okay, but it's kind of just that. Okay, next up from Alpha Investments. So from Rudy, we get Figment of Judgment as well as something else. If you go check his video, he's obviously spoiling another Rudy Flesh and Blood card, but the full card is not spoiled, so keep that in mind. This Figment says, when this enters the arena, you may turn a card in any banish zone face down. So we saw a light card do this before. Now we have a Figment that does this. And then the Herald is called Themis, Archangel of Judgment. And when Themis attacks, you may banish a card from your hero soul. If you do, turn a card in any banish zone face down. Very, very cool. Very interesting to have this Herald be against shadow heroes and work so effective. So pretty damn cool there. All right, next up from the Fab Workshop, we have Cleansing Light. This is a rare, so expect all 3 colors here. This is a light action that has no attack and blocks for 2 because it is just an action, right? It costs 3 and it says if a card has been put into your hero's soul this turn, you may play this as though it was an instant and destroy target yellow aura. So very interesting as far as like the lore wise, that we are getting a card that seems to target the mirror. Being able to destroy yellow aura is basically being able to destroy a Figment to possibly destroy an angel coming up, or it could be any other things, you know, whatever aura is out there that has a yellow stripe could see some danger here, and most of those are all light cards, so it's a very interesting mirror, anti-mirror type card, but I like it. I really do. I like when those cards are made. Next up from Dead Summer Art, we have Morlock Hill. This one I'm actually really happy about because I'm happy that they're bringing the tutors back in, and so let's get into that. This is just a warrior instant, so no light involved here. We're finally just getting a pure warrior card. It is a blue pitch majestic, so it's only going to be in blue, that costs 0. Like I said, instant. The next time you be dealt lethal damage this turn, you may banish Minerva Themis from your hand or arsenal to prevent that damage. This is pretty damn cool because Kano's kind of a menace in Blitz right now, and Kasai has a hard time against Kano, but she can be able to have a way out if she has a Minerva Themis in her arsenal or her hand to be able to survive his big turn, right? Survive that blazing aether that's coming in for so much and be able to be like, okay, I'm alive. I'll now do my thing, win the game. That's what it's there for. And it's very cool too that the last Figment that we saw was named Figment of Judgment that turned into Themis. So we see that she becomes an angel here, which is really cool. So Minerva has a very cool storyline. Next up from Mitch Leslie, we get Soulbound Resolve, another legendary equipment. This is a light warrior equipment, so this is Bolton. Chess piece here that is a 2 block with temper. And it says, when this defends, you may charge your hero's soul. So this, you almost is like encouraging you to block with it. And it says the first time you be dealt damage each turn, if you charge this turn, prevent 1 of that damage. So if you block with this card, you can charge your soul, and you can prevent some damage as well as having actual block value, and then be able to block additional cards to, you know, prevent some damage. There also might be there is a few ways that when you charge on your opponent's turn while you're blocking, that now it will also prevent some additional damage. So this is very interesting to see. I actually don't mind this at all. I mean, this is a very good card. If you're Bolton, you're going to be playing this card unless you're going to combo route and you want the Courage of Blade Hold. But I'm excited to see how this card turns out. Very, very excited. All right, next up, we're down to the last two now. From the Tall Timmy, we have Beckoning Light. This is a Majestic Light Warrior attack action card that comes in for 3 attack, defends for 3, and costs 0, and is a red pitch. And it says, as an additional cost to play this, you may charge your hero soul. If a yellow card was charged this way, whenever an attack action card hits this combat chain, you may put an attack action card from your graveyard on top of your deck. Very, very cool. I like this card. I think this is another card that Boltons are going to be playing to keep bringing back Take Flights, Bolt of Courage. You know, just cards that you want to keep coming back. Maybe even like Red Express Lightning. Just big attack, or like, you know, cheap attack cards that have good on hits, or at least have go again in some capacity. All right, last one of the day. TCG Talk, Glaring Impact. Okay, this is a common Light Warrior attack action. Expect this in all 3 colors. This is in the red pitch. It's a 1 cost that comes in for 4, defends for 3, and as an additional cost, you may charge, of course. If a yellow card is charged this way, it gets overpowered. I'm glad we saw the red on this, because the red is as strong as it's going to get. Honestly, for 4 overpower, I'm not really super impressed, to be honest. This is a common card, so it's fine. You don't have to be impressed by every single card. But I just don't see this card seeing a lot of competitive play. Not as of now, at least. Now, maybe Commoner could find a place for it, and I do like Commoner as a format, so I think there's a lot of cards that are going to be improving Commoner. But as far as Classic Constructed and Blitz, I don't see it here. Okay, 47 minutes. This is a long video, but there was a lot of spoilers, so had to do them. This is your video to see all the spoilers all at once. We'll keep coming out with these until there's no more spoilers to come out with. So you got about 2 more days of this. So buckle up and see you on the next one. Until then, keep on fabbing.